Today, May the 17th, is the second day of Dharma Talk in this 10-day meditation retreat at ISMC Pakhom. Yesterday, I have started to explain that whether a deity, celestial being, or a human being, whoever practices is called a bhikkhu. And I have explained that kilese penaditi bhikkhu, destroying the defilement, one is a bhikkhu. And yesterday I explained that through the practice of sila, through this morality practice, one destroys vitekama kilesa, gross defilements momentarily by practicing morality. And by noting whatever object that arises during this Satipatthana meditation, having samadhi, not only samadhi, but it also involves viriya, sati, and samadhi in the noting. One removes priyuttana kilesa, transgressive defilements, momentarily, every moment. One notes the object with viriya, effort, sati, mindfulness, and samadhi, concentration. So in this way, one is said to be a samadhi bhikkhu. Every time one is able to note having viriya, sati, samadhi in each of the noting. And in order to cultivate knowledge, in order to be a panya bhikkhu, one needs to cultivate knowledge. So while noting whatever object, whether rising, falling, or lifting, placing, lifting, moving, placing, if you apply your mind onto the object, aiming, directing the mind onto the object, pushing the mind towards the object so that the noting mind reaches the object of meditation. If you are able to apply these factors, aiming, directing, as well as viriya, effort, pushing the mind, then the mind falls on the object. The mind sticks to the object, fall calm, collected on the object. And if you keep on noting like this, when sati, mindfulness, and samadhi, concentration, become continuous, one discerns the nature of the object that has been noted. For example, when noting rising, with aim and effort, one notices stiffness, tension. When noting falling, noticing relaxation. When noting lifting of the foot. When the noting mind is concurrent, mindfulness and concentration sustain on the object, one notices the nature such as lightness, pulling, when one notes lifting. So in this way, when one comes to discern the nature, the characteristic of the object that has been noted, then panya develops and one becomes a panya bhikkhu. In order to cultivate knowledge, one has to keep on noting continuously, moment by moment, one after another, so that when mindfulness and concentration become continuous, knowledge will develop. And it is important to keep on noting continuously without gaps. so that practice gains momentum, sati samadhi gains momentum, and knowledge unfolds itself. But as a yogi, sometimes one might think that each moment of noting that one misses or fails to note is just small. But actually, each moment of mindfulness is very important. If one misses or fails to note something, sati samadhi will not be continuous. If it is not continuous, it will not be strong. If it is not strong, knowledge will not unfold easily. So that's why it is continuity and persistence is very important in practicing Satipatthana meditation. So let's look at what factors are involved in each of the moment of noting and discerning the object of meditation, such as rising and falling of the abdomen. When noting rising, for example, yogi has to push the mind towards the object, putting effort so that the mind is pushed towards the object rising. It is viriya. In terms of factors of the path, it is called samma vayama. So in this way, every time yogi notes the object, one should make effort pushing the mind onto the object rising, and it is samma vayama. When the mind sticks onto the object, there is mindfulness, samma sati. The mind being piercing into the object, the mind fall calm collected on the object, it is samadhi, samma samadhi. So in this way, noting the object with effort, mindfulness, concentration on the object, three factors of the samadhi khanda concentration group are present. That is samma vayama, samma sati, and samma samadhi. In order to note the object, yogi has to apply the mind onto the object. Applying the mind onto the object, it is called vitaka, initial application. In terms of the factor of the path, it is called samma sankappa, right application of the mind onto the object. So in this way, it is samma sankappa, right application. When one discerns the nature of the object that has been noted, such as rising of the abdomen, when noting rising of the abdomen, noticing stiffness, tension, which is the characteristic of the air element that is obvious in the rising. In this way, discerning the nature such as stiffness, tension, it is samadhi, right view. In this way, two factors of the Panya Khanda, two factors of Panya group, namely Samma Sankappa and Samadhi, are present. So in this way, three of the Samadhi Khanda concentration group, two of the Panya group makes up five factors. It is Karaka Maganga that one is developing by noting and discerning the object. Having taken the precepts, there is also sila. having taken the precepts, there is also the 3 factors of morality group: Samavacha, right speech; Sammakamanta, right action; Samma Ajiva, right livelihood. In this way, 3 of the Sila Khanda, the morality group, are also involved. So in this way, every time one notes and discerns the object that has been noted, these 8 factors of the path, the preliminary path, are involved. So in Satipatthana meditation, noting the object, discerning the object, one is developing 8 factors of the preliminary path. And when one cultivates knowledge stage by stage, and finally, when one attains the path knowledge, Magga Jnana, one develops the Eightfold Noble Path. So in order to get there, we need to work on the preliminary path. We need to work on the Pubbabhaga Magga every moment by moment, one after another. Noting in the sitting meditation the primary object rising and falling of the abdomen, or sitting, touching as the primary object, it is Kaya Nupassana Satipatthana. So in our body, there are many kinds of materiality. Among many kinds of materiality, what are the most obvious are the 4 great elements. So in the Satipatthana meditation practice, we observe which is most obvious. So among the materiality, we have to be mindful, starting from the object that is most obvious. Among the Nama and Rupa, materiality and mentality, materiality is most obvious. Among them, the 4 great elements are the most obvious. When noting rising, falling, in the rising, falling, it is the air element that is most obvious. So when noting rising, it is the air element that is most obvious. So if you pay attention, if you really focus your mind on it, note it with aim and effort, you can notice the characteristic such as stiffness, tension, which is most obvious. But if you haven't discerned it yet, do not feel depressed. Keep on noting, being mindful continuously, one after another. And when mindfulness and concentration become strong, you will notice the nature that is obvious at that very moment. So in whatever object that you note, whether rising, falling, or sitting, touching, or lifting, moving, placing, or bending, stretching, turning, and so on. In whatever object that you note in such a way so that you know what it is. You know what nature is obvious in the object that has been noted. So like explained earlier on, they are the 4 great elements. The earth element, Pathavi Dhatu, you can notice it as hardness, softness, roughness. Tejo Dhatu, you can notice it as warm, heat, cold. Apo Dhatu, you can notice it as fluidity, cohesion. And Vayu Dhatu, air element, you can notice it as stiffness, tension, pulling, pushing, and so on. So what natures you will notice is for you to find out. I want to give you an example. Would you like to try what I asked you? Yeah? Okay. So can you all stand up? So when you stand up, keep your awareness on the whole body standing. Note it as standing, standing. Focus your mind on the whole body standing. Note it as standing, standing. What do you notice when you note standing? What nature do you notice when you note standing, standing? Softness, hardness, hardness, stiffness. Anything else? And
Heaviness on his feet,
heaviness.
Charlie.
Heaviness. So in the standing, when you focus your attention on the whole body standing, note it as standing, standing. One yogi notices stiffness, tension, softness. One yogi notices heaviness. So these nature, the characteristics that are obvious, you can come to notice. At times you might notice stiffness, at times you can notice at hardness, at times it might be the tension, at times it might be the warmth. So whatever nature that is obvious at that moment, you can come to notice if you are being mindful of the standing, standing, standing. Okay, now I would like to ask you to sit. Before you sit, when you see the cushion, note it as seeing, seeing, seeing. When you want to sit down, note the intention first. Wanting to sit, wanting to sit, wanting to sit. And when you sit down, sit slowly, mindfully, not abruptly, yeah? Because as a yogi has to do things slowly so that the noting mind can keep pace with the actual movement, actual activity that you are doing. So when you sit down also, in order to know the nature, the characteristic that is obvious in the sitting, you should sit slowly, mindfully, pay attention on the whole body sitting, noting it as sitting.
Silahkan dilakukan.
Okay, so can you please slowly sit down, pay attention on the whole body sitting. Note, please sit inch by inch, yeah? Do not be quick. Only if
Jangan
you
terlalu
do it
cepat.
slowly, then you can notice. Stop, 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 stop. And concentrate. What do you notice? Supporting. Yeah. Anything else? Pardon? Heavy. Yes. Heaviness. Pressure. Yes. Pressure. Yes. Yes. Okay. So this was just an example what we can come to notice if we do things slowly, mindfully. Now sitting slowly, mindfully, one yogi notices as supporting, one yogi notices it as heaviness, one yogi notices as pressure. So every day we sit down. Every time we sit, we have to be mindful in this intensive retreat. So this time you might notice it as pressure. Another time you might notice something else, another nature that is obvious at that moment. Another time you sit, it might be something else. So every time you sit down, please sit slowly, mindfully. As you sit slowly, mindfully, noticing the nature such as heaviness, pressure, supporting, hardness, pulling, and so on, you cultivate knowledge, discerning the nature, the characteristic by being mindful at that moment of sitting. So just now giving you the example of sitting down mindfully, it is what our strategy asks the yogi to do as a demonstration to show uh, as an example of how you should be noting in order to discern the nature. So this is just an example, standing, sitting down, it is just an example. The same thing during the daily life also, when you are bending, stretching, turning, opening and closing of the door, switching on and off the lights, whatever that you do, if you do slowly, mindfully, you can come to notice the nature, the characteristic that is in the object that you are noting. So, what the yogi have to do is to note the object. Every object yogi has to keep on noting. If you have not yet, if you haven't noticed any nature, any characteristic, do not feel discouraged. Just keep on doing. As long as the mind stays on the object that has been noted, that is, so long as you note the object, aiming, directing the mind onto the object, putting effort, pushing the mind onto the object, so long as the mind sticks to the object, so long as it falls calm, collected on the object, having viriya, sati, samadhi, the factors of the samadhi khanda, having these three factors, kilesa, defilement, has no chance to arise so long as there is viriya, sati, samadhi in noting the object, so long as the mind, the noting mind is concurrent with the object that has been noted. So in this way, the defilement has no chance to arise at that very moment. The mind is on the object. There is purity of the mind as defilements do not arise at that very moment. So you get immediate benefit moment by moment every time you note the object. And when mindfulness and concentration become continuous, you can discern the object, noticing the nature, the characteristics of the object. So tomorrow there will be interview. So I would like to explain how to report systematically uh, what our strategy has instructed. Yeah, because time is limited, yogi should report short to the point. So in the interview, yogi must report how long each session of sitting meditation that he or she does, how long he or she does walking meditation, and so on. And when you report about your sitting meditation, you can report on your best sitting. Reporting about sitting meditation, first report on your primary object. You should describe whether you can note rising and falling of the abdomen precisely. If you are able to note rising and falling of the abdomen precisely, what you come to know when you note the object. When noting rising, for example, yeah. So there are three things you need to report: rising of the object, how you noted it, what you come to notice. For example, if you note rising, rising occurred I noted it as rising. When I noted rising, what you come to know, is it the form or shape of the abdomen that you know when you note rising? Or is it the manner of rising that you know? Or is it any nature such as stiffness or tension? Falling. Falling occurred. I noted it as falling. When I noted falling, I noticed it the form or shape of the abdomen, or manner of falling, or is it nature such as relaxation? So in this way, when you note rising and falling, what you come to know? Do you know form or shape of the abdomen, or do you know the manner of rising, manner of falling, or do you know the nature such as stiffness, tension? So in this way, you can report what you notice. Or if you cannot note rising, falling, you can just say you have difficulty noticing rising, falling. And what happened? Is it the wandering mind that arises? If it is the wandering mind that arises, you should explain whether you are able to note the wandering mind. And when you note the wandering mind, what happened to it? Whether it goes away, or whether it continues, or whether it stops. And whether you are able to go back to noting rising, falling. And what after you note rising, falling, maybe 10 times, 20 times, it's just an estimate. You have to uh, describe how long you can keep the mind on the rising, falling. It's just an estimate. And after that, what happened? Whether pain arises, if it is the pain that you have to note what kind of pain it is, whether it is a stiff pain, heat pain, what it is. And when you note it as pain, what happened to it? Whether it increases, decreases, stop, move, or disappear. So in this way, you should describe what it is, what happened to it when you note the pain. And also other objects that arise during the sitting meditation, such as sleepiness. If sleepiness arises, whether you are able to note it, whether the sleepiness goes away or not. So whatever object that you are noting during the sitting, how you noted it, what happened to it when you noted it, you should report. Yeah. And walking meditation, whether you are doing one step walking, if you can focus your mind on the foot while you are doing your walking meditation. And when noting, lifting, placing, lifting, what do you come to know? Is it the form or shape of the foot that you know? Or is it the manner of lifting the foot? Or is it any nature such as lightness or pulling? So in this way, you describe what object you are noting, how you noted it, and what you come to notice. Yeah. Interviews are designed so that we can help you with your meditation. So do not feel nervous. Just express openly what you are going through in the meditation practice. So time is up. This will be all for today. May you all be able to practice smoothly so that you can attain your goal in meditation fast and smoothly.
Sadhu,
Sadhu.
sadhu, sadhu.